At the heart of Southeast Asia, there's a city too strange to believe. Huge 20-lane highways completely empty. Massive temples, no one in sight. It's 4 times the size of London, 6 times the size of New York. But apparently, nobody is living here. 2 years ago, we mentioned this city in a video. It was viewed by 46 million people, all of them stunned to hear about the strangest capital on Earth. Now, we've decided to take a deep dive into the city of Naypyidaw. We hope you're ready for a crazy video, because the more you know about this city, the stranger the story gets. Naypyidaw is the capital city of Myanmar. It's a forested country in Southeast Asia with 50 million inhabitants. Remember that video we spoke about? That almost got as many views as Myanmar's current population. You might know the country by a different name, especially if you were around before 1989. Back then, Myanmar was called Burma, and this is actually pretty controversial. The name was changed to Myanmar by a military dictatorship that forced its way into power way back in the 1960s. A lot of people didn't think this regime had the right to change the country's name, but the United Nations call the country Myanmar, so that's the name we'll be rolling with too. Now, let's talk about Naypyidaw, the strangest capital on Earth. Here's a satellite image of the city. It has a total area, give or take, of 7,000 square kilometers. As we mentioned earlier, that's several times bigger than London or New York. A similar sized city, but still a bit smaller, is Shanghai. But there's a major difference between Naypyidaw and Shanghai. Shanghai's population is 26 million, whereas Naypyidaw has less than 1 million current inhabitants. It makes the place feel like a ghost town, a ghost megacity, something straight out of a post-apocalyptic film. The roads are vast, with 20 lanes in some places, but completely empty of vehicles. A truck might occasionally trundle through, but it will usually have the entire road to itself. The parks and gardens are the same. So are the malls, the golf course, the zoo. Even the city's most famous landmark, the Upatasanti Pagoda, is deserted. There's an airport with space for several million passengers, but on a busy day, there are rarely more than a couple hundred people. There are also dozens of extravagant luxury hotels, but the pools are deserted and most rooms have never even been used. In fact, the only people you're likely to see are gardeners and street cleaners. This is the big difference between Naypyidaw and a post-apocalyptic city. The capital is maintained to immaculate standards by an army of workers. There are workers in the shops as well. In 2015, 2 Guardian journalists paid a visit to the city and described a jewelry store. There are dozens of people working here, but no customers. It's completely silent. The population has risen a bit since 2015. Back then, Naypyidaw was even more of a ghost city, with less than 400,000 citizens. But it's still eerie to think about, and this capital gets stranger yet.